The defense secretary has described this as combat, and what has happened in this restrike situation was the fog of war. It was very fiery, it was very fast, and he believes that they did the right thing. As it's being described so far, in terms of what we understand of what happened, the first strike, obliterating the boat, then they discover two survivors. They see them floating in the water, and according to the Atlantic's reporting, they did not have radios, they did not have any ability to defend themselves, they did not appear to be going anywhere, and if they were going anywhere, it was not to America. Is this a war crime?
So the only way that it's not a war crime is if we are not at war, which I think, you know, my position is that we aren't. Most legal scholars' position is that this is not an armed conflict, which means that it is just an unlawful killing or homicide. I want to make one note about the description that you just gave, that you were quoting Secretary Hegseth and the fog of war. Fire and smoke and chaos and debris, that is an airstrike. That is what happens when you use lethal force of that nature. And so if that startles him, and if that makes him unable to make decisions, he might be in the wrong job. It is really unfair to describe an airstrike that he watched on TV as the fog of war. The other point that I'd like to make is there's been a lot of commentary on what the men who survived, or the two survivors on that strike, were doing. There were some comments that they may have been surrendering. I'm not so sure that we could even say that they were surrendering, and here's why. This was the very first airstrike of this campaign. This was September 2nd. Nobody had told these traffickers, which, by the way, had been and continue to still be interdicted without lethal force by the United States Coast Guard, because where this is properly placed as a law enforcement mission for interdiction of drugs, not lethal force. So nobody told them that they were at war, and I imagine they probably thought their engine exploded. How would they have any idea that they were just struck with, I think it was a Griffin missile? So that, I think, puts this into even more grim context, that they really were, if they were waving at aircraft. I don't think it's a stretch to say that they were simply trying to find help, and they probably had no idea what happened to them.